grow the ecosystem. It seemed to be more and more vibrant, but of course, still at an early stage. So, for example, Uganda, when you look at the various scores, so the digital economy scores at 51%. How inclusive is it? The inclusiveness score is at 55%. So if 100 is sort of your aim and goal, you'd say, yeah, we're at 51%. Rural Uganda is at 27%. Maybe another one to talk about, MSMEs are quite well included, but yeah, that's to give you the picture. And a lot of this is actually available online, talking about the different aspects of
Very well said. Thank you so much, Richard. Really very insightful. So Alan, I hope you've got a clear place now to speak to us. I'd like to bring you in and chat with you a bit before. Guys, remember, if you have any questions, use the Q&A option on your screens, and you can type your questions. So I'll open it up for Q&A. So anything that triggers your mind as we chat, as we have a conversation, please just put it in the Q&A and we'll pick it up later. So Alan, you're building Center. Thanks for building Center. By the way, we're about to integrate, and we are super excited with what you're doing. As you know, there was a significant uptake of e-services as a result of COVID-19 pandemic. We've all been talking about the same thing. You could say that more people compared to the previous years started using cashless options. So could you talk to us about how fintech is accelerating the use of digital payments and making it a viable and usable option for masses? We would like to know your experience building Sente and about the digital payments.
All right. Thanks, Evelyn. Greetings from Rujeyo Farm.
Oh, you're at Rujeyo.
Yes, I am. So anyway, the question was like, how has the pandemic really accelerated the adoption of fintech? And what have our experiences been? Okay. Well, before the pandemic, when we used to go to clients, it was, I would say, like about maybe 4 out of 10 would say, you know what you guys are talking about is nice, but it's not for us now. Okay. And now we are happy to come into the office, go to the bank, pick up cash, pick up checks, write lots of paperwork. That's how we do business. That's how we've always done business. And we think we're pretty successful. When the pandemic happened, I think it opened the eyes of everyone that, you know what, things have changed. And they changed overnight. Like CK said, I think it accelerated the adoption of digital by at least 10 years. And we saw that in our customer numbers, in our volume numbers, and also in the interest from the market. So yes, our experience was that this pandemic, you know, with all its messed up stuff, you know, businesses closed, we lost people we love. But the golden side of it was that we had quite an adoption of fintech and digital solutions. The question though, as I stand here in this nice little village, is how relevant are we down here? Yes.
You preempted my next question, so go for it.
If I had the answer, I would have answered the question. But I think this is where it becomes a, you know, like an effort beyond, you know, just maybe like fintechs. But you have Richard Ndahiro and UNCDF. You have CK who's saying, you know, go to Gulu, go to BDBD. I think, you know, it will need government and government policy and a very deliberate policy and deliberate effort to take these solutions of ours and make them relevant for Omuntu Wawansi. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So our listeners, if there's anyone who would like to ask a question to these guys, they're right here. If there's anything that you want them to speak to in terms of physical and digital, if you have any questions whatsoever, please type them, because I see we don't have any questions and it's time for us to open up for Q&A. So you can raise your hand or just ask your question in the Q&A section so we can take it up. All right, so as I wait for people to ask questions, I'd like to, Richard, you spoke about, I just wanted to touch base on another piece of conversation that I love, that is really close to my heart, and that is the issue of gender when we are talking about digital. So as we know, across the world, millions of people are still unable to access the internet and participate online, and women are disproportionately excluded. Men are 21% more likely to be online than women globally. And when it comes to less developed countries, it rises to 52%. And there's a new report. I don't know if some of you have actually read it. It's called The Cost of Exclusion. It was published by the Alliance for Affordable Internet. And they give very good statistics there of the economic impact of excluding women. And I know you spoke that, some of the people that you target are youth and women. And from the economic impact, countries have missed out on $1 trillion in GDP as a result of women's exclusion from the digital world. And as you, NCDF, as you address some of these issues of leaving no one behind, from a gender perspective, what are your strategies there? Because I believe leaving no one behind definitely also means not leaving women behind. And as a woman, I believe that that's one of the key points that I'm always really passionate about. Do you have any key strategies that are focused on women, and what are some of the things that you've learned in your journey to help the women also come along?
Yeah, so really very pertinent question, and it really beats reason that 50% of the country are women.
Yeah.
And yet they are not equipped enough to be active economic actors. I hope that is not, then you're actually crippling the economy. So that's actually, it's as simple as that. Now, when it comes to so first of all, yeah, women is one of the key segments of focus. Like I mentioned, there is youth, women, rural people, majorly smallholder farmers, then you have refugees, migrants, and MSMEs. But women is a key one. And what we do, maybe what I didn't mention, we currently have around 22 active large projects. So within those, we have smaller projects. But what we aim to do is that, and with all these projects, actually maybe 75% of those is with private sector partners, maybe even 80%. We are helping either try out new innovations or scale innovations that have shown good traction already. So we are either piloting with them something new or getting them to really scale quicker. And in both, what we are actually bringing the private sector partners to add to their solutions is special attention to these segments. Okay, so we'll sit with, for example, a center and tell them, yes, this is your solution, but how about women? Are you taking it for granted that women will use the solution? Are you taking specific care of the peculiarities of women. And I'll give a very simple example. 2 weeks ago, I was in Nakivale. Nakivale is one of the oldest settlements in Uganda. They have a huge booming economy in there. And we're there with Bank of Uganda. One of the challenges was, so we're looking at financial inclusion for the refugees, is that they have, I think, over 100 bank agents, but I think only 10% of those are women. And trying to understand the challenges was because, so to be an agent, you need to have a registered business, you need a couple of documentation. And for one to get that documentation, you have to travel maybe for 3 hours outside of the settlement to Mbarara, which already, even when a woman is able to do that, they will send their husband who's less busy because they are really busy around themselves. So requirements for certain things to happen, it can't be taken for granted that Evelyn and Richard will be affected the same way by these requirements. And what it takes is, so what we do in each of our projects is always having the gender lens of how you assess the barriers from a gender lens point of view. And that requires that in the project that you're implementing, you have to show specific attention, how you've analyzed and attended to the specificities of gender aspects. And in most of the solutions we are working on, and maybe even start with a policy tool that we worked on with the Ministry of ICT, was to say, yes, Uganda's digital economy is at 51, but what about for the women? What is the level of digital divide? So bringing attention to even the statistics of the differences between everybody and specific segments like women helps people to realize that it's actually not a given that women. Then when you get down to the specific projects, like I say, it's getting people to really think through how to deliberately make sure that women are being included in their solutions as they view them.
No, that's really, really encouraging that, there's a deliberate effort to make sure that all of these are integrated from, the design perspective, from the policy perspective, but also from an innovation perspective. So CK, maybe we can also chat with you again. Do we have any questions before I go on? No questions so far. Guys, please ask. Ask questions. We don't want to be talking to each other. We know each other. We can't just be talking to ourselves. I wanted this to be a conversation between you guys. So if you have any questions that you want to ask these people, like I say, they have a wealth of information. Please ask away, because that's the only way we can make the ecosystem better.
Evelyn, there's a question in the chat.
Okay, question for CK. What are your thoughts on the future of work and the digital gig economy? Because I think that also goes hand in hand with the physical and the digital. So yeah, please go for it.
An interesting question. I remember we recently launched a challenge around the future of work, attracting solutions that can build, opportunities for work in the future. But I think it's a really broad question. Work has been disrupted also due to things like COVID and everything that's happening, even away from technology. For example, there's a new insights coming in about what is now called a Great Resignation.
Yes,
as a result of COVID and people having spent the last 2 years at work at home, do you now tell them to go back to how life was? They have new dreams, new aspirations, new challenges, new ways they can now distribute their capacity. They don't need to go back to that desk before that they used to offer 8 to 5. They can now be anywhere in the world and work anywhere in the world. So that's just on the workspace, also due to COVID. As a person who works with employers and as an employer, you find that now productivity has been affected, and I keep telling, even the small businesses I talk to, right now, we're beginning to see the real impact of COVID. The third wave of COVID that's hitting businesses is on productivity and quality of how do you keep your people motivated in this new world of work. We have motive, which is a typical factory setting. In a factory setting, you come every day, you work every day with people, you get used to them. It's an assembly plan. How to build productivity when people have new dreams and aspirations of working home, staying safe, washing hands, in a factory setting. So you see lots of disruption has happened around the future of work, and employers are looking for productivity, staff are looking for remote work. But I think I'd like to just speak about it in the line of what it means for anyone who's building technology, who's building solutions. And I think for me, the opportunity is around building to optimize for whichever client you're trying to choose. If you are building platforms like Flip, for example, you want to be a go-to destination for employers or people who are looking to recruit, to be able to access talent at really manageable cost. Because even now, the cost of employment, if any employer is looking at taking on people, you have to worry about NSSF, work pay, and all of the total cost of employment, which is not sustainable during recovery like now. So if you're building for the future of work and you're building a technology platform, it's really critical that you're solving problems businesses are facing, and you're known as the best destination to go to be able to find talent that people can use. And I know Ape, for example, I know Rylan is asking that question is because he's built an awesome freelance platform that has enough gig workers. So it's really, you're playing into the future and you're unlocking the future. So I think the opportunity is on how you can build fast, hit growth milestones, be investment ready, and attract the potential partnerships, to scale out the platform. Because right now, I think it's a moment in history where we have a lot of talent available, a lot of talent that's looking to work differently than we've been working in the past, and a lot of talent that is looking to offer their skills out there to not just one, but to a number of people, also in light of the Great Resignation and the new ways of work. So I think it's you're right on the money for what you're building for the future of work. But it's really a difficult time right now, even as organizations begin to think of what recovery looks like during this difficult time. Thank you.
Sorry, apologies, I even dropped off for a bit. Yeah. But Tika, I also had a question I wanted to ask in terms of when people think physical and digital, it's very easy to think to make it a very simplified notion that if I have a business and it's physical, then when I put it onto a digital platform, that's all it takes. But we all know that there's steps that are included in thinking about a strategy for digital that will make a business thrive. So how do you, when you're speaking to these young people, when you're in your maker spaces, when you're with these budding entrepreneurs who are now thinking, oh my goodness, digital is the way to go, how do you bridge that gap in telling them or letting them understand that it's not just taking your offline business and putting it online and boom, everything, you have a clear set of customers and everything will start working? Because there's a lot that goes into it. So can you speak about that shift from?
I think it's a very, very good question, brilliant question, and it can only come from Evelyn. So I think it was something I was looking at, Evelyn, and they were talking about how companies that have scaled digital have built. So that for me, the basic foundation is if you don't have the right processes away from the digital offline, You don't have the right processes, the right methodologies. You don't have the right, whatever you're doing. If those are not in place, then you cannot go digital. It's what we take digital is what is already working offline. And in the same case study, they said, the first 10,000 rides for Uber were really of connecting, people, car to people who are looking for the car. If Alan was going to London for Airbnb, the first few months is calling someone saying, oh, there's someone who's coming. Do you have, space for this person? So, and that's how the first few connections were done offline. And then when that process was mastered for about the first 10,000 homes, then that process was able to be taken digital. So digital only scales and only helps you build out successfully what has already been working offline.
Absolutely.
So you digitize the processes. If that hasn't been done yet, it's going to be absolutely difficult, for you to go digital and successfully, scale out the processes that you're trying to, or the objectives you're trying to achieve.
I totally agree. Yeah, thanks so much, CK, for that. So we have 3 questions. Yay. Christopher is asking, what kind of infrastructure and policies are in place for entrepreneurs to help build the digital universe? The cost, for example, to get a USSD code is steep. How does the little man leverage such a platform? Anyone? Richard?
Yeah,
CK?
maybe I can go, and
Yeah.
I'll be a bit generic in my answer. But what we try to, so as a country like Uganda thinks through moving towards enabling the digital economy to thrive, there is need to think through what are the key inputs, okay, or what are the key ingredients, or what do we call utilities when it comes to a digital economy? So aspects of how you treat things like you access to a USSD code, how do you treat things like access to digital identity, how you treat things like access to a smartphone or usage of internet, defines your thought of how you're trying to position yourself as a digital economy. Okay, and I was reading an article 3 days ago that Zimbabwe had put an extra tax on smartphones. That just tells you how whereas a smartphone in one way could be seen as a key tool in the digital economy that allows you to produce and be more productive. For some people, it might be seen as a cash cow for. So the same applies to things like the access to USSD codes. How about for all the tech companies that want to authenticate identity of a customer? What's the cost of that? How easy is it to do that? And those are discussions that we keep having. Meta Uganda, I think, is a very good institution in trying to get this happen. But some of the key fundamental things, which we call utilities, actually, that everybody should have easy access to, for them to be able to be active either as producers or as consumers in the digital economy. That's all I can say.
Yeah, thank you so much, Richard. We have another question. CK, I think this is mostly in your LA. Gotho from Nairobi wants to know, is interested to understand how the youth are engaged to adopt in the many digital workspace opportunities ranging from drop shipping, software development used through ICT digital hubs, incubation center, social media marketing, etc.
Yeah, I think if you look at it, there's quite a number of opportunities that have been created around, engaging youth in the digital space and creating those opportunities for them to make it a dignified involvement for them. And then break it down into 3 or 4 categories. We have so many of them that are building, startups at different stages of their growth. You have the Alans who have been in the industry for so long, the Evelyn's, who everybody looks up to. You have that segment of them, and then of course those that are way, above that, given how long they've been in the industry, and the role those have played is they've provided a template, they've provided an example, they've even provided most of the time employment opportunities to young people who, after working with them, look at them and say, I think I can do this better, and they go and start their own startups. We've grown the digital hub space in Uganda significantly, formed an association called Uganda that has over 15 innovation hubs supported, of course, by UNCDF. And that has, the focus there is, can we strengthen the activities of a digital hub such that it's able to offer, services, better services to young people to enable them achieve those aspirations. So through Startup Uganda, we strengthen that ability. That has also led to the Innovation Week, Kampala Innovation Week, where we all come together once a week, a year, to celebrate opportunities in the ecosystem, award one or two people. And then the other segment belongs to of course, the government through the initiatives that we have seen, whether it's NISP and what NITA is also doing right now, which have also gone to create opportunities for young people to get involved within the digital space, and a lot of work also going on around the skilling element, the digital skilling. Players like the Factory, Tunga, that are elevating the quantity and also the quality of digital skills and developers, especially in the market. I think the last bit I'll speak to is really also the international organizations that have also come in strong to also unlock opportunities within the digital space, whether it's JICA, UNCDF, MasterCard Foundation, that have done a lot of work as far as that is concerned. Two things I wish we could do better as far as enabling that digital space is around how do we get more corporate private sector venturing, corporate sector that can look to partner up with the youth, digital startups and entrepreneurs to scale pilots, to innovate at large scale. Private sector owns data, owns context, owns markets, and entrepreneurs on this side are looking to innovate with data, with context, with markets. That's something I'm still regrettable about in terms of the level of success. And then also the right type of capital. I think I must mention this, the right type of capital that an entrepreneur needs. An entrepreneur doesn't necessarily need a grant or free money. They need, commercial capital that can put them on a growth stage such that they can raise their next round of capital based off the milestones they are going to have to cover. So those two, a lot of work happening, but I feel if we don't close in on those two, we won't have a fully growing ecosystem, which is all our aspiration. Thank you. You're on mute, Evelyn.
Oh, sorry. The magic word, you're muted. So yeah, we are at the top of the hour, and we have one more question. Richard, if you can just take this in just 1 minute. James Muchibi wants to know, comment on the challenge with extending the digital efforts to rural areas with focus on the education system. There's a huge digital divide between rural and urban, and this is impacting on the education of children.
So really the challenge is real. That's all I can say. The challenge is real. The positive thing to note about this is that COVID has really helped elevate the need for, say, EdTech or delivering education through online. Whereas, for example, Uganda's broadband policy had targets of connecting schools, health facilities, I think, and local development, local government offices by, I don't know, it's 2023, and say having 4G by a certain point in time. I think Rowena from Nita Uganda could say it better. Maybe COVID is going to push us to sort of shorten this target and be able to have it earlier. But the challenge is real. The good thing is that everybody realizes to what level we might be behind in our efforts to achieve this. And I think that opens up a lot of room for discussion on how to make this happen. And just like the digitization efforts in this country, actually in other countries also have happened. It is a strong role for private sector, but government is good at nudging people towards certain areas with various tools it has, be it its budgets, be it its incentives. So I think the challenge is understood, can be looked at holistically, and the various players incentivized to try to quicken the process of minimizing the harm, if this harm is to continue.
Very well said. Thank you so much, everyone. I would like to thank everyone who stayed with us to the top of the hour. Thank you, CK. Thank you, Richard. Thank you, Alan, who's also left. But you guys have been absolutely amazing. I think this conversation continues because it's just a scratch on the surface, and there's so many intriguing things that we can dig deeper into. But I hope this was as insightful to you as it was to me. Let's keep the conversation online. So thanks, everyone, and bye for now.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Yep.